Hey everyone, Felice Gerwitz here, and I want to share with you something that is dear to my heart, and that is saving you money. Can you use encouragement for your homeschool journey? Have you been searching for an online learning program designed to ground your family in a Christian worldview? Well, now you can at MediaAngelsMembership.com. Our affordable membership packages fit your budget and busy life. Now you can access customized membership packages for your homeschooling family from the extensive Media Angels library of books, classes, and Bible studies. You may select the ebook bundle, the creation bundle, the premium bundle, or the forever bundle. Each bundled set will save you vast amounts of money. Our packages begin at less than $10, and you can use it for the whole family. So go to MediaAngelsMembership.com for more information. That's MediaAngelsMembership.com. You'll be glad you did.
This is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network. Welcome to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Your host, Felice Gerwitz, is an author, a publisher, and your radio show host. She will encourage, educate, and inspire you with answers to your most pressing questions from homeschool, marriage, parenting, and much more. Felice loves to equip moms to live a Christian life because every moment counts. Be sure to visit her website at MediaAngels.com. And here's your host, Felice Gerwitz.
Hey and welcome. This is Felice Gerwitz with an episode of Vintage Homeschool Moms. And today, our episode deals with getting everyone in the family cooperating. Does that sound like a dream? Well, it can happen. This is episode 414, and the topic today is family and homeschool cooperation. You can find the show notes for today's episode at vintagehomeschoolmoms.com. And again, look for family and homeschool cooperation. And friends, there is a lot that I've packed into this episode. There's a lot of lists. So if you want to get a copy of the show notes for today, head over to the website. I also want to give a shout out for Media Angels and the Media Angels membership. You can get a bundled set of many of my wonderful and highly acclaimed, not by me, but by others, curriculum that has been around for quite a while. I started Media Angels back in 1990. I know, super long time. And it has been a blessing for many families and for mine as well. Well, it is time to have everyone on the same page. The kids, the parents, even grandparents if they're around, any family members that may want to have an input into your family or homeschool. And I want, to share with you just some things that have worked for my own family. And I've been doing a series for the kids, and part of the reason is I have some wonderful grandchildren, but the other is it was basically the way I reasoned and talked with my own children. And many times we think as parents that our kids all understand that we're on the same team working toward the same goals, but they have no clue. And so I want to share with you some things that really will help you in your journey for peace in your own homeschool. So how do you get the kids to cooperate? And sometimes, we're trying to get done all these different things. And a lot of times when we look at, getting our kids just to get school done during the day, or as we're trying to get chores done and that sort of thing, we are attempting, and that's the key word, we're attempting to get things done. And our kids are smarter than we think. And sometimes I feel we don't give them enough credit for making the right decisions, especially when the facts are laid out. I have to admit, I acted as a homeschool dictator from time to time. In fact, I used to jokingly say to my kids, this is a monarchy and I'm the queen and you have to listen to what I have to say. And that was on days when I was just at wit's end and just frustrated because, everyone wanted to do something different. I had some kids who were always on the go and wanted to go, here and there. And I had others who had to know ahead of time what our plans were going to be and so forth. And so, when I got pushback from my kids, it normally was something that caused me to stop and think. But once I realized that my, shortness of patience with them and that I was getting upset for the, 50th time that the math book was lost, I finally realized that they just were not understanding that, for example, no matter how many times you lose that math book, you still have to do the assignment. And, another thing that occurred to me is what moms are facing today. I recently learned of a busy family that is in big trouble because the mom takes on all of the day-to-day household activities but resents this and is always complaining to her family about being overburdened. The goal in her mind is to express her frustration and, basically this is a cry for help, but it goes unignored. Other people in the family are just saying, well, you want the house to be perfect and laundry to be done and meals to be a certain way, and we don't really care. So the complaining and frustration continues on her part. And if we were all together, I would say, okay, let's brainstorm and let's help this mommy out, right? But I'm sure while we could come up with all of these ideas, it boils down to, first of all, what is the straw that breaks the camel's back? What is it going to take to change? And what is it going to take to get the entire family on board? And basically, it comes down to an action plan. Think about this seriously. Spoiled kids become spoiled adults. Now, I was a spoiled child, but somewhere along the line, it changed. My, dad especially put his foot down and said, enough of this. And I'm really happy he did. Sure, did we go head to head on some things? We did. And especially when I thought he was being so unfair. But ultimately, he won out. And I had to realize that my parents were the authority. So many times I feel that parents are just not the authority in their children's lives. So I'm just going to give you some points here. And these are the facts as I see them. Parents are the head of the family, and basically you are responsible. That's number one. Number two, we have a schedule or routine to keep in our homeschool day. Number three, we have a house to maintain, meals to make, laundry and cleaning and so forth. Number four, we have a partner in all this, and that is our spouse. And if you're a single parent and a Christian, your partner is the Lord. For kids, their list is a little bit different. They wake up each day not necessarily excited about school, and of course there is an exception to the rule. They're tired and hungry, and they're waiting to be directed by a parent or a sibling. They have things they want to do, maybe a hobby or just to lay around and play or watch television or whatever that is. And lastly, they're not sure about what is expected of them every day unless there's a chore chart and things that are spelled out ahead of time. For some of us, rules and assignments are clearly laid out, and everyone knows the routine and what their jobs are within the context of a family. And for other families, the parents take on the main responsibility, and therefore, the result is parents are upset, angry, frustrated, and all the work lands on their shoulders. But there is help. You can have family and friends, people from church, babysitters. We can enlist the help of others. Or just take things off of your own list. We can be our own worst enemies. I used to give myself so many things on my, list of things to do. And even though I wasn't a big list person, I had it all in my head. And at the end of the day, I would look back and say, well, I got about a third of the things done I wanted to get done today. Does that sound familiar? I still do this. And so we have to be realistic in what we expect to accomplish. So here's the issue. Most of the time, the big picture is not laid out. And this is the 5 points I want to make. Number 1, we are a family. Number 2, we are on the same team. Number 3, we want only good for our family. Number 4, we want our kids to grow, prosper, and learn. Number 5, we want to work toward a common goal. But what is that goal? Do we even know? So here's another 5. Number 1, we want children who are well-rounded and love the Lord. Number 2, we want a happy family that enjoys each other's company. Number 3, we want household chores shared. Chores that are, clearly explained. Now, I know, moms, some of you don't want anyone to help you because you have a specific way for doing things. But the kids can still pick up. They can still help clear the table. There are things that kids can do. And they will feel so much better about themselves if they're what I call a welcome member of the family. Number 4, there's school that's scheduled. Do you school 5 days a week, 4 days a week? What is that? And 5, you have days off scheduled. Have those days where the kids are looking forward to a vacation day or days for catching up or field trip or something extracurricular. Even if it's a walk in your backyard, to collect leaves or look at nature, whatever that is. For the kids, let them understand that, number 1, you are part of a family. Number 2, you have an obligation to follow the family rules. Number 3, you have an obligation to learn. And number 4, you have an obligation to help out or volunteer if you're not asked. So if these things are spelled out, and many times parents don't even know what it is that they want out of their kids. And I think, that's also part of the issue. But the problem boils down, again, to implementation and following through. I was great with the grandiose ideas, but the follow-through, that's where I got stuck. And that's where I had to ask my husband for help. Years ago, he came up with a checkoff list for the kids. So they had their school, laid out. It wasn't necessarily what I used for my portfolio or review, but the kids knew what subjects they had to get done, and they checked them off. As they got older, they could write down their lessons and assignments. And then, yes, that did become part of their portfolio and what they accomplished each day. And that got them in the routine of looking and saying, wow, I either got a lot done that day or I didn't. If you're the one who's always, going after your kids and keeping track, we can't expect them to understand when they're falling behind or why we're getting frustrated. So if they understand that will really help. And I have to tell you, that was such a godsend in my own life. And I get it. Real life gets in the way. We had issues with elderly parents. I had another pregnancy in the middle of the school year. My husband had job issues at one point in time. But life continues on. And if the kids know that we're working together and we have a common goal, then it won't be that hard to get everyone on board. The real solution for family and homeschool cooperation is the following. I'm going to share with you some of the ways we did implement. The first is have a family meeting. Let the kids know the issue at hand. Mom and dad needs help. We're part of a family. Here are the goals, whatever that is. The second is to ask kids for their input. If they are old enough, have them share their ideas. You would be surprised and shocked. I remember my second oldest daughter, second oldest child, got married and, came back into the home and said, she was visiting and she said, Mom, you've got to get chore charts. These kids need to help, blah, blah, blah. So she created this complex chore chart. And they were color-coded, and, there was, somebody had green and yellow and red and whatever, and she sat down and created this amazing thing. It was wonderful, except I would say to, let's say, Michael, Mike helped clear the table, and he'd say, well, I'm green this week, and someone else would say, I'm yellow, and whatever. I was lost. It didn't work for me. So I finally sat the kids down, and I said, okay, here's all the things we need to do. And then they started volunteering. And Mike said, I don't mind emptying the dishwasher. And Ann said, I hate emptying the dishwasher. And Nick said, yeah, me too. So they divided the chores on their, I just sat there and watched. And so Anne picked up the common area, the living room, and so forth. We all decided that everyone would help clear the table after dinner. Somebody was in charge of setting the table. Nick was in charge of taking out the trash and, some yard work and some, general fix-it type of thing. So in other words, everything got sorted out by them. And they weren't that old. I think the oldest at the time was, 10 or 11. So it wasn't like, they were super old kids. And, I had 3 of them that were younger. And so when you get some feedback from them, it's amazing. The third is listen to all the ideas and advice and compromise, and then get them to say, we're going to cooperate and change. Another point I want to make is that, it ultimately stops with you parents. This is where you can pull your king and queen card if you need to. They have to listen and obey. And then the fourth is to tell your children what you expect, whether it's a chart or a list or whatever it takes. If color coding works for you, go for it. And the fifth is to have routine family meetings and put it on the calendar and update as necessary. And, to this day, we have family meetings. When my kids unexpectedly came home in March of the school year when they were in college, we had to sit down as a family and say, okay, you guys still have to finish some schoolwork. I know you're going to be doing some things virtually. I still have a business to run. Dad and Nick, they're going to be in and out, and Neil. So we had to get some things squared away. And I had my daughter saying, well, I'll take over cooking. And another one, so basically they pitched in and helped with some of the things, the day-to-day things that we had to do. And so I even had some extra work. I took on a big project, and my kids, I ended up hiring them to help me when they were done with their assignments. So it all worked out. And it doesn't matter how young or how old they are. Family meetings are wonderful. So I really pray that you enjoy this time of making memories instead of working on, hitting your head against the wall and frustration and discipline all the time. And I want to let you know about my other podcast. I have a podcast, A Few Minutes with God podcast, and there are some short and encouraging and faithful episodes over there. I have one that's called Cooperating with God's Grace that I also am airing the same day that this one airs. And so you may want to catch that, and I'll have links in the show notes. So once again, the topic today was Family and Homeschool Cooperation, episode 414, and you can find the show notes at vintagehomeschoolmoms.com. Go check out mediaangels.com. We've got some great character planners. I give them away monthly and have been for this past year. In fact, I've got 24 of them planned, and they're all going to be given out free. And if you miss the freebie, you can buy the bundle sets on my website under mediaangels.com. So be sure you sign up for our newsletter, and you will get an update each month when we have the new planner available. So take care, everyone. God bless, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for tuning in to the Vintage Homeschool Mom Show. Visit Felice at mediaangels.com and thevintagehomeschoolmoms.com. Vintage Homeschool Moms is a production of the Ultimate Homeschool Radio Network.